Good evening, my dear ones. This is Don from these planes of love and light, and we welcome you here this evening, you who are new with us. And I want you to know that there are many, many from this side of the veil. Each time that we meet, there are new ones here that gather to hear the lessons. When you are not used to thinking of the other dimensions, the many, many dimensions that we have in life, you get earthbound, you might say, and just think of the earth plane. But remember, there are many, many dimensions, and there are many subdimensions in each dimension. And there are many entities on these other dimensions, and they need food for the soul, just as you do. And their teachers and their helpers that are working with them bring them to these kind of meetings that are small groups all over the world. Remember, when you're sending love, to send love to these other groups. And when the class is over this evening, remember to give the new ones the article on sending love. It is such a pleasure to come to your circle of light and join with you in thought, in spirit, and in love. Our topic tonight is keeping in touch. This is a little different topic, you might say, but the ability to keep in touch means many things. For example, you can start with yourself, keeping in touch with your feelings, your moods, your attitudes, your thoughts. And, of course, you have this in your self-awareness class, of becoming aware, much more aware of yourself and how you're feeling and what you're thinking, and learning to change your negative thoughts to positive thoughts. So keeping in touch with yourself is a place to begin. On these dimensions, we keep in touch by thought. And even if we are many dimensions from a friend, all we need to do is think of this friend, and immediately we are in communication with them, just as if you had telephoned them up, and they are aware of your thoughts, and the communication is instant. There are times when they are busy doing other things and do not want to be interrupted, and this is all with love, and we know when we reach out with a thought to another that is on another dimension, we instantly know that maybe they are busy talking to a student or giving a lecture or something that is occupying their thoughts at the moment. When you think of keeping in touch, I would have you to remember to keep in touch with us from this side of the veil. When you are not used to thinking of but just one dimension, then it opens up a whole new world and many, many worlds for you, because you see, your world is just a very, very small part of life. And when you remember that the many, many mansions that your master teacher talked about, he said, "In my Father's house are many mansions, and I go to prepare a place for you." And what he meant was that when he walked your plane in the physical, he set an example for you. This is why he came to the physical, not to die on the cross to save you from your sins, because no one can save you from yourself except you. And in true reality, there is no good or evil. Now, this is a new concept to some of you, And I would say to put it on the back burner and not be concerned about it until you have time to understand it more thoroughly. But when your master teacher walked this plane, he set an example for you. Now when he said, "In my Father's house are many mansions, and I go to prepare a place for you, and where I am, you shall also be," something to this effect. He meant that when we have an experience, we make impressions upon the ethers, as I have discussed with you before. And everything, for example, this class tonight is making impressions upon the ethers. And if you projected 200 years into the future, maybe you were in a different incarnation, you could use age regression to regress yourself back and be aware of this class and everything that was said in it and everyone on it that was in the class. So when the higher beings, the masters, go ahead, they pave the way for you, and they prepare the way for you. Now, this does not mean that they're going to do anything for you, because you have to be in that place in consciousness before you can be aware of this way that they have prepared for you. But when you become aware of the true reality of your being, that you are not your physical body and you're not your mind, but you are a spiritual entity that is an entity of the universe, an entity of the many, many dimensions that I speak of, and that this is all your home. The physical plane is not your real home. Your real home is on the higher dimensions, and you are here going to school to learn and to grow. This is the only reason that you take on a physical body, is to learn and grow into a higher consciousness so that you can expand your awareness. And when you come back home, then you will have moved up a grade or two, and you have made progress. Think about when you were going to school. When you started in the first grade, if you did not have any understanding of school before, your understanding of school is limited. But as you learn to read and as you learn to add and subtract, then you could divide and multiply. And it is the same thing with your spiritual growth, my dear ones. You take one step at a time, and first things first. And you see, if you cannot overcome this dimension, if you cannot learn the lessons of this dimension, then you will have to come back time and again until you do learn the lessons. And then you can move up to another dimension, the first grade, the second grade, any way that you want to put it, to help you to understand. But it is vital that you do take it one step at a time or one grade at a time. If you will recall, we have given this example many times. You have to learn to add and subtract before you can divide and multiply. And it is the same way with your soul's growth. When you learn the things that are here on this physical plane for you to learn, then you can understand another plane, a higher dimension. Your master teacher said, "I have overcome the world." And this meant that he had learned everything on this plane, and he had command of this physical plane. He truly had, literally had command of it, because he walked on the water, stopped the wind, he raised the dead and healed the blind, and so on. Now, each one of you, my dear ones, will have this ability and will move into that understanding. It may be 100 lifetimes from now, or it may be tomorrow, but it is there waiting for you to move into. Be not concerned and think, well, I'm not very far along the path, because, my dear ones, you do not truly know how far you are along the path, because most of you do not remember your other incarnations. You do not remember how much you have learned on other planets and the things that you have learned since eternity. The word eternity means no beginning and no end, and you are an eternal being. So you see, you have learned many, many things in what you think of as the past. And those things, when your consciousness is right, you can open the door to the understanding that you already have. Now, when you make progress on this physical plane and you move, you graduate or go through the experience we call death, you leave your physical body behind you and you graduate to another dimension. If you are in tune with life, then some of this understanding from your past does come to you, whatever is the best for your good. The lords of karma, the higher beings that keep track of the records, arrange this. They are great, great beings of light, and they keep track of everyone on the physical plane and everyone in between incarnations. So you see, they have a huge, huge mental abilities, and they are serving mankind in this way, and they are here to help you to work out your misunderstandings about life. Karma is a word that some people know what it means, some don't. It's a Sanskrit word, and to most people it means the law of cause and effect. But a simple way of saying it would be just a misunderstanding about life, or an understanding about life. It can go either way. But the things that we're interested in learning is to correct the misunderstandings that we have about life. Now, from the physical point of view, you do not learn eternal truths. You have the opportunity to have something to push against and make mistakes, as you call them, trouble and problems that are truly opportunities. And this gives you the ability then to grow. On the higher dimensions, everything is too easy for you, and your ability to move higher in consciousness is not as great as it is on the physical plane. So be grateful for the trouble and problems that you call them. This sounds like a slap in the face to some of you, but truly it is an opportunity for you to remember deep in the side of yourself the real truth of life and realize that you are made in the image and likeness of the Creator, and that you are the master of yourself, the master of your life. And when these so-called trouble and problems come around, you realize that you have created it yourself, you and you alone. And so by knowing this, then you can correct them. And this correcting gives you a leverage to move higher in consciousness. It seems that I have strayed away from the topic that we started out with this evening, but keeping in touch is a very important thing. On these dimensions, when we touch with our thoughts, there is a feeling of love and beauty and joy on the realms of love and light. And it is a beautiful experience to communicate. We do not have a language as you do, and words are not what we communicate with. We communicate with thought transference, you might say, and when we communicate, we project a picture, we project a feeling, we project a lot of different things that you do not have words for on your dimension. And when we come together and communicate, it is a beautiful, beautiful experience. As you come here each Wednesday, some of you feel that this is a beautiful experience. Just multiply that by 1,000 times, and you will know what a beautiful experience it is for us to communicate on these higher dimensions. Do not feel left out, because you will have your opportunity to have this experience. You have had it in the past, and you will have it again. Let us give time now for questions this evening. If you have questions, feel free to ask questions. And when you ask a question, you see you are projecting into the ethers the communication that brings forth the answer. Are there any questions this evening?
How can I learn to...
Speak it a little louder so it will be on the tape more clearly.
How can I learn to get into the light, to get transmit I'm intuitive.
Transmit with what?
Try to speak with
us on these dimensions?
Yeah.
Yes. I have to read your mind to see what you're saying. This comes as you move higher in consciousness. You already have this, my dear one, but you do not realize it. There are many times that you have thoughts and feelings and hunches that you do not give us credit for. You think it is your thoughts, you see. And when you learn to discern the difference, then you give credit to your teachers and your guides and your helpers from this side of the realm. They are there with you. You are never alone, and there is someone with you at all times helping you when you are open for it. Now, you do have free will, and you have to keep remembering this, and we cannot invade your free will. God himself cannot invade your free will, because he's given you this freedom to make as many mistakes as you want and grow in making the mistakes, so-called. Does this help your understanding? As you move higher in consciousness, you will have this ability, and Donald does have a class on this. After you've gone through quite a few classes, he does have a class on how to get in touch with your teachers and guides. It is a beautiful experience for those who are interested in moving forward in their soul's growth, because we have so much to give to you, my dear ones, so much to give. But we can only give to you what you ask for, and we can only give to you what you are ready to receive. You see, when, for example, when a baby is born and it's 3 months old, you don't teach it to add and subtract, do you? It has to first learn to walk and to talk and so forth. And wherever you are in your soul's growth, this is where we work with you from. And none of you are in the same place. And do not ever compare yourself with another. For each one of you are different than anyone in the whole universe. And you all are at a particular place in growth. Now, when you come into the physical plane, you shut off a great deal of your understanding so that you will have the opportunity to have these so-called troubling problems, something to push against, and have the opportunity for growth. So you cannot tell, even in this circle, from outer appearances, who is farther along in growth. Many of you might say Donald is farther along, but you do not really know. There may be some of you that are much farther along in their soul's growth than he is. He is just playing the role of teacher at this time. And you have played this role at other times, and he has been the student. So you see, you cannot judge by appearances, as the master teacher said, but judge righteous judgment. And when you learn to use the law of life, the eternal law, then you can use the law in the right useness of the law. So as you move forward in your understanding, as you learn what is right in front of you, this is what you need next to learn, not what you think somebody else has, and you see that they are in a certain place and you want to be there. Do not do this to yourself. Look at yourself and be aware. Keep in touch with your feelings, your mood, your attitude, your thoughts, and see where you are in reality, in the overall reality of life, of the universe, and take the next step right in front of you. That is the only one that you can take. If you're going to walk a mile and you take 3 steps and sit down in the road and scream and pull your hair and carry on because you're not down at the end of the mile, this does not get you there, does it? All you need to do is dust yourself off and take the next step and the next step. And this is the way with your soul's growth. You take the step right in front of you, and so many on your plane do not even see the step right in front of them. We are so close to ourselves that you do not see the trees for the forest, as the saying goes. So it is very important to keep in touch with yourself first. And then as you learn to understand where you are in this incarnation, not in your overall soul's growth, but just where you are in this incarnation, then you will know the next step to take. And you will receive the guidance if you ask. All you need to do is ask for help from us and send God's love to make the connection. And my dear ones, if you do this, it will be there. It may be so subtle that you do not recognize that it is coming from these dimensions. But if you are open and you listen to the thoughts that are in your mind and you pay attention, you will receive the guidance that you need. So much of the time you have your attention on the outer physical world, and it captures your attention. It runs away with you and holds you in bondage, you might say, because this is what you're so used to giving your attention to. But if you will take a little time each day to sit down and be quiet and go within yourself and listen, just be open and listen. You may not feel that you get anything at that time that you're quiet, but maybe 2 or 3 hours later you will get a thought, a hunch, or something that is guidance. You see, when you are not used to making the contact with us from this side of the veil, it takes a little while for you to get used to it because it is subtle. When Donald, for example, began to make contact with us, and he desired to have this when he joined the group that had the contact. When he realized that he could do it, he realized that he had had it for some time and didn't recognize it as such. And this is the way with so many of you. You have it much more than you realize. And if you will listen to your thoughts, if you will listen to your feelings, your hunches, and ideas that you get, then you can open the door to the communication with us so much more. You can keep in touch with us. Are there other questions this evening?
I'd like to know, who are my guys?
This is, my dear one, you are new here, and we do not answer this kind of question. I know that there are circles like this who do answer this kind of questions. And when Donald was learning to make this contact, and there were certain standards that were set, and he has abided by these standards. And it is not that we do not wish to tell you, but we have to abide by his standards because it is his free will. Let me try to explain to you that you have several teachers and guides. There is one that is responsible for you through this incarnation. There is one for everyone who is responsible for them over a long period of what you think of as time. But then there are other guides and teachers that you may have. When you open the door to move forward in your soul's growth, you will attract maybe as many as 8 or 10 or even more individuals from this side of the veil that are helping you in different ways. For example, you may be trying to overcome a particular hang-up or problem, whatever you want to call it, that these individuals have overcome in another incarnation. So they do understand, and they understand what you are going through. They understand how you are feeling, and they will be with you. And so there may be 10 or 20, even for some people, that touch in with them at different times. And when they are ready to see and to understand, when you, from the physical plane, open the door by asking for help and sending love, often through the day, send love to all the invisibles around you, as you called us. And if they are of the darkness, then they have to change or leave. If they are your helpers, then that opens the door for them to give you impressions, to give you thoughts. It is much better, my dear one, if you, through meditation, through getting still within yourself, receive the name yourself. And let me say this to you. In this next week, if you will take 15 minutes a day just to sit down and try to still your mind and relax your body and listen and have a pen and paper handy, you will receive a name or maybe more than one name. And you see, then it has come through you, and you are much more apt to give it credit than if it comes through someone else. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Yes. God bless you. Are there other questions this evening?
Maybe I order
That's all right.
Does the civilization of M-U-N-S civilization ever exist?
Yes, it is short for Lemuria. It's a civilization that was where the Pacific Ocean is now. Atlantis was a civilization where the Atlantic Ocean are approximately. And when when the land masses change, you see the water also changed, and so these two civilizations, not all of it, but most of the land mass in these civilizations are underwater at this time. And it is an interesting thing to understand, and all of you in this room have been in Lemuria or Atlantis, and some of you have been in both. Most of the individuals in your country that you call the United States are Atlanteans. They were a progressive industrial, you might say, civilization. They progressed very rapidly in technology and in psychic abilities. And they were more aggressive than the Lemurians. The Lemurians were more like a farmer type individual, but they developed great psychic abilities also. But they were more in a natural way, as you would think of it today. And they were both in at the same time, but not exactly the same time. They existed. And they did have some exchange with each other, but not too much. This is an interesting story, and there are books that are written on this, and Donald has age regression tapes that are very interesting from this time. You see, you have all these records in the subconscious memory banks. They are all within you. In the Bible, it is called the Book of Life. The Book of Life is the memory banks that you have, and you have the memory from all time within you, because you are one with all life. All of us are. We're not separated as it appears to be on the physical plane. On the higher realms of love and light, we know this, literally know it, because we know our oneness with the Creator and with each other. And when you're in a physical body, as you are, and the culture is does not have a spiritual understanding, and not very many do, then you tend to feel a lack, and you feel separated. But my dear ones, you are not. It is just an illusion. You are all one in life. There's only one life in all creation, in all the universe. And each one of us are different expressions of this one life. The grass, the trees, the birds are other expressions of this one life. And so, when you understand these things, then when you hurt your neighbor, you see you hurt yourself, because we are one. And when this is fully understood on your planet, then you will truly have heaven on earth. Are there other questions this evening? Did this help your understanding?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. It is good to have the questions. It is all right to ask questions, even if they are a myth. We will give you the best understanding that we can. Never feel that you should not ask questions, or feel that you might ask a silly question, because if it is a question to you, it needs to be answered. And maybe the person next to you or in the circle has the same question or similar question they would like to ask, but they are too shy to do it. Feel free in this circle and think of us as all family, because, my dear ones, we are of the same spiritual family. Whether you know it or not, you came together. All who come to this center and many other places are attracted because they are family. And from these realms, we have groups of spiritual families of a few thousand, you might say. And let me explain this in a very simple way so that you might understand. Half of the family incarnates into the physical. The other half stays at home and looks after us. And those are our teachers and our guides. And you have played the part of teachers and guides at different times. This is not always the way it is, but for the most part it is. And you have many, many loved ones that you have loved dearly for eons of time that you do not remember at the moment. But when you come home, you will remember, and you will be with your loved ones. They are with you much of the time. Even if they're not your teachers and guides, they touch in with you when they have the opportunity. There's much love, that unconditional love, on these dimensions of love and light. And this is one of the things that is needed for you to learn, to love unconditionally, without any thought of self, but just love, because love is the essence of life. Love is the substance of life, and divine love is the key to all things. Are there other questions this evening?
The other part, is it necessary to experience everything in order?
There are times when you experience similar things, but you see, for example, let's go back to school again so that we can make it simple. If you did not learn everything in the first or let's say the second or third grade, then when you got to the fourth and fifth grade, it would be difficult for you, would it not? And so it is with your soul's growth. You need to experience everything on this plane to learn and to overcome it, to eliminate the untruth from it that I call illusion. You see, most of this plane, or should I say all of this plane, is illusion, except for the ones who dwell on this plane who know the truth. And very few dwell on this plane who have a little bit of the truth like you do. The masses are involved with the physical, and that's it for them. They do not consider the spiritual. But those like you are growing in number, and many are awakening to understand and to come out of their shell of darkness and an illusion and open up to the light of understanding. Yes, you need to learn everything on this plane or something similar. Now, there are times when you have a loved one, a relative, or someone you are close to who is having an experience, and you learn through there, vicariously, you might say. This sometimes is enough. For example, if you have someone who has a drinking problem or a drug problem and you're closely involved with them, and in truth, you're going through this experience with them. And so you do learn by being closely involved with this individual. Do you understand? Yeah. This is a good group tonight. There are good vibrations that you might say, and a good feeling here tonight of oneness. And when you are come to the class in one accord and open, then this opens the door for us to give you so much more. There's so much to give you, and your language is so limiting, but there is much, much yet for you to learn. Are there other questions?
Don, if I understand correctly, that God giveth our own free will, and if we should choose not to reincarnate into another lifetime, that slow our soul's growth down?
It could. It depends on the situation. You see, your Edgar Casey, let me give an example, has said that there are, on the average of 500 years, in between incarnations. But everything's very different. And at this particular time is the most opportune time to be in the physical in the history of your planet. And so many, many are coming into the physical and waiting their turn to be here. And this is the reason for the population explosion. It is a very opportune time. But when you choose to not come in, there is a reason for it. And maybe it is not the right time. We listen to you and to your understanding. And the Lords of Karma, well, I was going to say they do not force you, but when an entity is not far enough along the path to make decisions for themselves, many years ago, as you would think of it in time, they have given permission for the one who is truly responsible for you to make decisions for them. And so they incarnate in this way. But when you are far enough along on the path that you can think for yourself, then we allow you, we advise you, but we do not force you. And you see from this side of the veil, you can see so much more, you can understand so much more. And when you get the impressions, you get the pictures, you get the knowing and the understanding that it is the best for you to go into the physical at this time, then most always you will take the path that is the best for your soul's growth. Did this have another meaning behind it than we have reached?
No, I pressed all that at that.
Yes, thank you. Life is such a wonderful and beautiful experience whenever we allow it to be. And when we open to the truth and to the spiritual reality of our being, then we are enhanced many, many times, and we move higher in consciousness. And the higher that you move in your understanding, the more you see, the more you understand, the more you are aware of, and the faster that you grow. It is like the high school student and the first grader. The high school student has learned many things that the first grader has yet to learn. And some of the entities do dally along the way, you might say, and do not choose to learn their lessons. And they have to come back time and time again and incarnate many lifetimes to learn maybe one or two things before they can take the next step. But life is eternal. And when you realize there is no such thing as time, then it does not matter. God has given us all eternity to take as long as we want to learn the lessons that we want. Yes.
A question. Things that we have trouble with, the things that pose problems for us, are they the things that we have to learn?
Yes. This is what is right in front of you. Many have asked Donald, what did I come to learn this time? And I sit in on some of his classes, and so I can quote him. And for most things, there's not a standard answer. But for this, there is. What you came to learn is right in front of you. And the things that are troubling you, maybe they are not a problem, but you have been brainwashed and conditioned as a child to think that they are. And maybe all you need to do is just turn loose of them and walk on. Now, I'm not saying this is what is right for you to do with the particular things that you're speaking of now. But yes, when you are bothered by something, you are troubled with something, you do not feel right about something, then you need to clear this up in your understanding. And when you learn to listen to that inner part of you that is one with God at all times, the answers are all there. And I encourage each one of you to do whatever it takes to be able to make contact with these dimensions and with your higher self, because you do have all the answers within yourself. And as you move through different classes, different understandings, you read different books, then the enlightenment comes, the light dawns, and there is a door opening for you, and you have greater understanding. One door opening for you can open to many, many other doors. Sometimes people on your plane get hung up on one thing, and they can't think of anything else but this one thing, and until they get it resolved, well, everything else is on hold, you see. And sometimes it is not really a problem at all. They are just making it a problem because they have been conditioned about sin and about evil and all of these things. And in true reality, my dear ones, there is no good or evil. There is no duality. And when you understand this, then you realize that maybe you've gone against the grain of life, maybe you've gone against the laws of life, eternal life, but you have come here to do that so that you can learn from it, so that you can grow. And God does not hold you accountable for anything. God sees you as perfect at all times. You are the only one that criticizes you or holds you accountable for any wrongdoing, as you would call it, whether it is right or wrong. You see, when you realize there is no right or wrong, it's just experience, then it makes it much easier for you to not get so hung up on it and think that it's bad, bad, bad. You understand, well, let's see. This experience happened to me, and what would Jesus do? This is a good way to resolve some of these things in your mind. You see, when the people took the woman that they called an adulteress, and they were going to stone her to death, and that was their laws in that time. And Jesus was there, and he said, let the one who is without sin cast the first stone. See? And in yourself, when you're thinking about these things, do not be so down on yourself. Try not to feel guilty or condemn yourself. Recognize these so-called mistakes. Recognize the things that are holding you back from moving forward in your soul's growth, and do something about it. Ask someone that you think might know, or go within yourself and bring the answers. This is the best way, is to learn to go within yourself and receive the answers. But do not let it hang you up and keep you from moving on. Does this help your understanding?
Yes, enough. Time to.
Yes. My dear ones, we do see in your souls and in your thoughts, but we do not invade them, and we do not invade your privacy. But you who have given us permission many, many lifetimes ago, we are there just to help you. And when you open the door, then we can give you the answer. You can give yourself the answer, because you have all the answers within you. And this may seem too much for some of you at this time, but they are there. And if you will take the time to go within yourself and know yourself, to be in touch with yourself, that higher part of you that is one with God at all times, that has access to all knowledge and all wisdom, all power and all ability. There is a part of each one of you that has this, and nothing is more valuable than that you make contact with that part of you. This is making contact with the God within you. Nothing is more valuable than this. Are there other questions this evening? This has been a good class tonight, and there has been much that has been brought forward. Some of you have known these things that we have talked about, but some of you needed to hear them maybe for the 10th time or the 20th time, and some of you are hearing them for the first time. Do not be concerned about how fast or how slowly you are growing, but just do what you can each day. Take one day at a time and start it out with a loving thought. Send God's love ahead of you into your day, and be loving. Be loving first to yourself. And as you're loving to yourself, then it's much easier to be loving to others around you. There's much, much love coming to you from this side of the veil. Remember that and be open for it, my dear ones. Be open so that you can receive so much more. The more that you are open, the more we can give to you. God bless you, each one, and good evening. Let me hold hands.
It will, and let us think to ourselves, coming together as I study the book, as we have been in spirit. Let us think of ourselves as one. This is one circle of light, and there are many, many circles of light. And let us include in the circle of light everyone on this planet. Let us lift our thoughts that entire realms of love and light. Let God's love come down through each one of us and go around this circle and multiply many times. Let us see it filling this room to overflowing, spreading out over the city, covering this whole planet with a blanket of God's love. Let us get going out to the whole universe, because God's love is unlimited, His power. Let us see God's love flowing headless into this week, into our every thought, word, and feeling. And let us remember to keep in touch with love, the love within ourselves this week, to keep in touch with our thoughts and feelings, keep in touch with our teachers without it on the other realms. palace of the longer class that I have been at a moment in the third year also.
The mod. I mean, this, he said a lot and said a lot.
I remember most of it right afterwards, in about 30 minutes or an hour, why I'll be able to remember any of it. But at least Miller. Go ahead, you ought to say something.
Well, you answered my question, Rick. You read my mind and asked you, were you aware?
Yeah. When we know we're one, I think that's very easy. You know what other people are thinking or feeling. It's not an invasion of privacy, it's just that they are one. And there come a day in maybe 100 years or a little more that we'll do away with speaking and language, and we'll just use thought transference all together, and then there won't be any secrets at all. Everything will be known. We don't need any secrets anywhere, and provided you still on thought transference, it still didn't want to be. I mean, if you wanted your own free will and did not want past, and they couldn't hide their thoughts, put cloud around it, yes. But at that time, I don't think they were included only into them. We feel a lack, we feel separated, so we think we have to hide certain things. But there's not that much difference. We're all individuals, but we all have a very similar experiences, you know. When I was young, I thought, well, nobody else said this but me, you know. And I found out later that we all did that bad things and had similar experience.
The Don mentioned we were all family. We entities know, I have known, I have shared experiences before.
Yes, come on. I tell them, those people that come here, I don't meet any strangers. Your like attracts like, and you're attracted to something because you feel kinship with it. I mean, and some people are not attracted because they're not awake yet. They're still sleeping, and in a hypnotic trance, you might say, of the world, within the world, and they go about chasing after the mundane things, and that's still their whole time. And first 27 years of my life, that was what I did, you know. And nothing was important but the almighty dollar. And but I woke up one day and realized that that wasn't nearly as important. Many other things. That's one of the illusions that we have on this plane.
Are there physical levels? Are there physical levels that need to be looked at, conquered, such as in the physical? I understand you do. That allows you not only to experience your growth in the physical, but are there certain items, such as the material, fear, any of the physical-based qualities that you have to grow through?
Yeah, most of those do. I don't know, we have to have the experience and then realize it's not that valuable. You know, when you work real hard to get a brand new car, and after you've had it a few months, it's not that important to you anymore, or a new house or whatever, see? It's important because it transports your body, and we have to maintain our bodies, but it's not as important when it. I can remember my first marriage after got out of service, and very young, you know, but didn't have any furniture, we didn't have a car, a working thing, and we needed everything. And that was the important thing to get those things. And then after we got them, well, then they weren't that important anymore. For example, the millionaires, the billionaires, a lot of them are not happy. Well, nearly as happy. I can remember when I was real small, my grandfather, my role model, and he was always puttering around in the yard doing something. He worked on graveyard sheds, and he was a carpenter on the railroad for 19 years. But
he had chickens and cows and things. And I'd follow him around and hand him a tool, And I said, I guess I must have said something about being rich. And he said, well, it's not being rich that's so important, but getting rich. The best interesting thing is getting there. And I've always remember, I'm sure I was over 6 or 7 years old.
That's the same explanation for kids who really, really want something and they beg for it and let me get it for them, and 5 minutes later it's forgotten.
But in a bar.
Well, the taking elements, the pretty they did it. So, the other should have been caught up to the challenge.
Yeah.
What you do is throw the challenge back at them. You want it, you find the light.
And we're all children who are real. Let's see, next Tuesday night we're going to have an introductory class for the self-hypnosis. So don't anyone bring over 10 people because we won't have room for them, But do bring a few of them. And it'll be in this room. And we got our mail out today. It's in the mail. And there's new mail outs on the desk. You can take 2 or 3 if you want to and give other people. And the mountain retreat now, if you're interested in going, we'll go up right away. I keep telling people that, but I'm sure somebody's going to be disappointed by getting left out. It's up by Payson, and it's limited to how many cabins they have, And if it's June the 9th and the 10th and the Friday evening, and the contribution of $125 each, that you'll be fed, and some of you will have a place to sleep, and some of you might want to camp out, and take your sleeping bag.
We got like so got to behave.
And when you make a hammock or something, yeah. But it'll be in the Ponderosa Pine.
I know somebody placed that's interested that I need to have some information.
Well, it's in the new mail out. Yeah. And there's also a brochure from the retreat itself. It's a lady who bought a doctor's thing and said she has cabins and sleeping space for about 20, but there's room for about 8 more if they want to sleep on foam rubber, But some people have told me, well, I got a camper and I think I'll ride in and sleep in it, But there'll be feds and we'll have a meditation festival that weekend. Be real interesting.
Shall we follow the class tonight?